Alright, let's take completing the square kind of to the next level here. So in this one, they're asking us to graph this parabola here, which looks a little bit more involved. The big thing that I'm concerned about is that A is not 1 anymore, which makes it a little bit more interesting. But it's a pretty simple process to deal with. So just like before, I'm going to focus on these two parts of it, right? And I'm just going to scoot this guy off to the side and not worry about him too much, okay? Now, looking at these parts here, the two variable terms, right? I don't like A not being 1, so I'm going to factor out, I'm going to divide both of these, factor out -2 out of both of these, so that I get A. So now when I'm completing my square, my A is 1. And I just worry about this part in here for now. Okay. So now once again, I remember that I think about, well, this is where I'm going. And I know that I'm going to want this to be half of that number. Okay, so I'm going to get x plus 3 here. And 3 squared is 9. So I've added 9 here. But now, check this out. If I distributed this into there, what I actually added onto this equation, was -18, right? Which, so then I'm going to have to add the opposite out here and add +18, okay? And when I come down with this, I'm going to end up with -1. So I've done that now. Once again, what I did is I scooted this guy over, focused on these two terms, factored out my A term, okay. Then I took half of my B term and squared it and added it there. But then I have to realize that I actually added this times that, so I need to add the opposite over here. So now my vertex is at -3, -1. And my graph, let's see, how am I going to do this? And then I have a vertical slope of -2, so there's -1. So this one's going to go here. How are we going to do this here? That one's going to go right there. Okay, this one's going to go right here, and it's going to graph something like this. And I can always plug in values and fill in my picture a little bit more. Okay, let's look at the next problem and see what that one looks like. So once again, this one is in standard form. My y-intercept is +5. That might be helpful. Later, I could actually go ahead and graph that now. Go ahead and put that right here. So my y-intercept is 5. Okay. But now I like finding my vertex, right? So I'm going to go ahead and scoot that guy over, and I'm going to factor that out of there. So now I'm going to look at this. I'm going to factor out my A out of both of these terms. And so I'm going to say y equals 3, x squared plus 4x, and then plus 5 over here. I'm just sitting over there. So then I'm going to look at this, and so this is my B term, and half of 4 is 2, and 2 squared is 4. Now I've actually added 3 times 4. I've actually added +12 here, so I'm going to subtract 12 over here. 5 minus 12 is -7. So now my vertex is at the point -2, -7. And I have that stretch of 3. So let's go here and look at this again. Okay. So negative 2, 1, 2, negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. And here's my axis of symmetry. And so I have another point that right here, because that is the mirror of that. And now I might want to fill in the picture here, and because my vertical stretch is 3, I know that from this point I can go over 1, up 1, 2, 3, over 1, up 1, 2, 3, right there. Or I could plug that in and say, okay, 1 plus 2, negative 1 plus 2 is 1 squared is 1 times 3 is 3 minus 7 is negative 4, and that's that point right there. 1, 2, 3, negative 4. And then I can sketch my graph because now I have 5 points. Cool. So that's kind of the next level of dealing with completing the square, where we factor out the a term, the leading coefficient from both of these terms, from both of the variable terms. Then we add a constant by taking half of b and squaring it. And so we add that constant, multiply it times a, and add the opposite out here, and simplify. And there we have our how to graph that parabola.